Greetings, Hallowmaniacs. Welcome to another shopping adventure for Vintage Halloween. Today we are going to a brand new store that I've never been to out of El Paso, Illinois. So why don't you come along with me as I hunt for some retro and vintage Halloween. Let's get going. All right, so this is my first time at this antique shop, and this is in El Paso, Illinois. And look at this little pumpkin right there greeting you at the door. And there were so many great fall items just when you first even walk into the store. And one of my favorite ones that you'll see is actually from 1994, and it's a Don Featherstone blow mold. You'll see that skinny witch right there. That one's pretty rare. You don't see it very often. And even the one right next to it, that's also kind of rare too, but I figured this one right here for $100. That's about what they go for, but this one had excellent coloring. It was not cracked. There was no damage to it. And Don Featherstone blow molds are they're so cool. I love them. Right here was also a Empire blow mold, and I want to say she's maybe around like the 80s, 90s, give or take a little bit, but she was for $125. And again, that's about what you see them go for. Now, this was a unique item for $70. It's a taller standing witch decoration. And, I've seen different ones at like Home Goods this year, different stores, but not one with that face, and kind of looked a little bit unique. But moving on, if you are a Snoopy friend, Peanuts characters you love, Linus, Lucy, this was a store that you will have to check out if you have not already, because there was everything under the sun that was Snoopy and related to the Peanuts characters. And everything on this front table was all just their Halloween ones. So kind of going through it, I saw a lot of cute items here. I love the signs that you could put into your yard. They have these plastic ones here and so many different ones. I mean, they had lights, blow molds, plushes. And like I said too, this was just mainly for Halloween right here on this front display. But if you are a Christmas fan and you love Snoopy, they also had a whole nother aisle just dedicated to Christmas. You could definitely be in Snoopy overload here, but I'm okay with that because I love Snoopy. I think he's adorable. But moving on, there were a lot of items that were beyond the collectibles. You had a lot of vintage and antique furniture, and I love this blue turquoise one right here. But going into antique and vintage was these great Halloween collectibles right here, starting with this noisemaker for $65. This one has a plastic handle, so maybe it's a little newer than the ones with the wooden handles, but it's still pretty vintage. And then you also had a older trick-or-treat bag that looks like they put in the picture frame for $85, and then some original die cuts for $25 each. One of my favorite ones being the witch with the haunted house kind of standing in the doorway. I love that one. And then they also had some other kind of hinge ones, as well as a scarecrow and a spider that was still new in the package. So a lot of great finds here. And beyond that, there was some great signage, such as this Black Crow Antiques neon sign that was up here. And I love when you can find items such as this vase, such as that sign that may not really be true antique Halloween items, but it's something that you could go ahead and use for your Halloween display. And then going on, I found some vintage girly candles. I love these. This is one that I got last year, and these were priced at $16 each. They're a classic one, and there actually is a blow mold that is pretty much almost the same as that candle. And speaking of that, here are some salt and pepper shakers that reminded me of a blow mold that there's a little golden retriever dog kind of carrying the pumpkin pail with the ghost costume on. Moving on and kind of going into the aisles, a new one at this time, there were some great Halloween colored candles, that black and orange stripe with some great candle holders, and just had its own little corner display right there. And I was finding a lot of great items, such as this witch. She didn't work. I tried to get the music to go, but could not do it with that. Probably needed new batteries. But I found some great vintage masks, and I love the Ben Cooper masks that are in the packages here. And I just think it's always so great with their graphics. I love the witch kind of on the broom right there. And then this one was a nice one. It's Raggedy Ann, but again, like I said, I love the graphics, the little black cat, the jack-o'-lantern. That just reminds me of true vintage Halloween right there. These were all priced at $35 each. And then there was another one that you'll see here, a Looney Tunes one. So that one was a rag doll. Here is the Looney Tunes one that is going to be Roadrunner. And that's such a classic cartoon. And I could imagine a lot of kids probably were dressing up as Bugs Bunny and, all the characters here from Looney Tunes. And Roadrunner always used to be one of my favorites and never said much, just a little meep meep, but it was such a classic character. Moving on, I saw this great witch. Here is a ceramic ghost that lights up. Probably would look wonderful too if you put a different color light in it. Maybe that classic yellow would look great, but what if you put a green one in or, something else that would kind of give that spooky effect. These are pretty unique. I never seen one like that, especially with the little white tux on. I love this right here. I think it's Bethany Lowe. Kind of reminds me of the true vintage paper mache pumpkins that were made out of the 40s. And I didn't find any sticker or marking on it, but I'm pretty sure it's Bethany Lowe. But I love it for $40. And then I love this right here. This is a truly vintage item, new in the package. 2 die cuts that were never used. I think they call them action dancers, but they're adorable. I love the little pumpkin with the skeleton body. The scarecrow is adorable too. And look at that original price on there. I like when you can find vintage items that actually have the original stickers from when they were purchased and show what they cost back then, especially like the girly candles. But this was from 1979, and you can see, again, it was never taken out. Still completely intact, never unfolded. So that was a great, I think, deal, $18 on that. But moving on, I saw some other great deals. Here is another fiber optic pumpkin, and we saw this a lot at the other store in Peoria when we went the other week, and there was just a ton of fiber optic pumpkins. And then here, this is something you don't see very often, a blue Dracula. So those were unique finds on that table, and just a little blast from the past, the 7-Up guy. There were so many great items at this antique store that were unique and just callbacks, and this was great too. Look at this wolf statue, Canadian wolf for $2,500, and a lot of unique items, oddities, collectibles. I mean, you name it, the store had a little bit of everything. And speaking of everything, I love this 1960s Fun World plastic decor that they had. They made those a lot of times in the 60s, 70s. And then they also had the little pumpkin poppers that would pop up and do that little squeak. Those are some of my favorite Halloween decorations around that time period. And then here I was just finding a little hodgepodge again of all kinds of Halloween items. I love this little garland right here with the pumpkins and the ghost. And from 1998, these Happy Halloween fun picks. It looks like you could bake with them, maybe put them in cupcakes and kind of decorate with it, but $8 on those. So as we wrap up, I'll show you a few more items that caught my eye. I mean, definitely take your time, give yourself time, I should say, because it does take a lot of time to go through because the store is pretty large and has a lot of items to go through. But I'm going to show you right now what I ended up taking home with me. All right, guys, so I'm back in the room and I wanted to show my one purchase from the store, and what a great purchase this is. I'm super happy to have this. Original die cuts from 1979. Love these, the little crinkled arms and legs. I've always admired them. I've seen them in stores. I've seen the repos, and I thought for $18 to find 2 new ones right there in the package. Original, not a bad price at all. And sometimes I'm not always one where I have a ton of die cuts at home. I'm a little sometimes leery. I hate the thought of damaging them, but this, even not taking them out of the package, I think this would just be a great display piece of vintage Halloween, just to even keep it in there like this, preserve them. And when you flip it on the back over here, I just love seeing that, they were never opened, never used. They're still perfectly intact, and you could just see them in there. And I love the little pumpkin right there. I love the scarecrow too, but that little pumpkin skeleton, super cute. So very happy with these finds. Want to say thank you again for tuning in. Let me know too if you've had any recent Halloween vintage finds that maybe you've picked up from the store, whether it be thrifting, antiquing, garage selling, flea markets. Where have you found your most and your best vintage Halloween finds? So thank you again so much for tuning in. Hope you're enjoying the 31 days of Halloween and plenty more to come. So until then, remember, friends, to always stay spooky.
Trick or treat.